All right, so you approach the front of the equipment. First thing you want to do is check all your lights, make sure they're securely mounted, not broken or cracked. Check under the equipment. You want to make sure there's no leakage, no diesel or hydraulic oil. First thing you want to do is check your counter rate. Make sure that it's securely mounted, no missing hardware, no broken, no cracks or broken pieces. Once you get to your tire, you want to make sure it's inflated to the proper recommended PSI. Make sure you have plenty of tread on the tire. And your rim, your wheel, you want to make sure it's not bent, cracked, broken in any way, and all your lug nuts are in place, securely mounted. Inside, you have your tilt cylinder. You want to make sure that's not pitted, securely mounted on both ends, not broken or cracked, that it's well greased. And all your axle components as well, you make sure those are well greased. And your hydraulic lines, starting from here, all your hydraulic lines, you want to make sure those are securely mounted on both ends. Make sure there's no leaks, no cuts or abrasions. When you get to your circle drive here, you want to make sure that your circle drive is well greased. There's no broken teeth. Your circle drive cylinders, you want to make sure those don't have pitting, they're not bent or cracked in any way. Make sure they're well greased. Here you have your moldboard brackets secured to the moldboard. Make sure they don't have any missing hardware, no bends or cracks in any way. Your moldboard, you want to make sure it's not missing any nuts and bolts. Make sure it's not bent or cracked. And also your blade on your moldboard, you want to make sure it doesn't have any broken welds. Make sure it's not overly worn. No bends or cracks on the blade as well. When you get to your cab, you want to first check your steps. Make sure they're securely mounted. All the bolts in place, not bent or cracked in any way that would cause an accident. And your handles as well, secured to the cab. Make sure those are properly mounted and secured. When you get to your cab, you want to do a full walk around, check all the windows, make sure there's no cracks, make sure they're securely mounted. Your window seals, you want to make sure there's no cuts, that they're securely mounted as well to give you a proper seal. Your window wipers, make sure they're not overly worn, that they're in good working order, not missing any hardware. Check your entire rollover protection structure. Make sure it doesn't have any cracks or it's overly rusted or missing parts. Here you have your hydraulic oil level. Make sure that's filled to the proper level. Inside you're going to have your fire extinguisher along with the pin and your reflective triangles in case you need them for safety. The rear tires, same as the front. Check the PSI, make sure it's filled to the recommended levels. Check to make sure you have enough tire tread. Check your wheels, no bends or cracks. Your lug nuts are all secured and in place. When you get to your engine, you want to make sure you check for your engine oil, transmission oil, coolant, hydraulic oil, and window wiper fluid. Your exhaust, you want to make sure it's securely mounted, not missing any hardware. Make sure it doesn't have any cracks or holes in it. When you get to the back, here you're going to check your ripper assembly. Make sure it's not bent, cracked, broken in any way. Make sure it's not missing any hardware. Your ripper cylinder, you want to make sure it's securely mounted. Make sure it's not pitted, greased, well greased. And the hydraulic lines leading to it, you want to make sure they're securely mounted on both ends. No cuts or abrasions. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure all the pins, bolts, and nuts are in place. Here you have your rippers as well. Make sure those are securely mounted with the pins and the cotter pins, and that the ripper teeth are securely mounted with their pins. Make sure they have enough teeth and they're not overly worn. In the back, you're gonna check all of your lights, including the beacon light. Make sure they're in good working order. Make sure they're not cracked or broken. Everything you did on the left side of the equipment, you're gonna do on the right side of the equipment as well.